And this time in the workshop, it's a bit of 1980s computing nostalgia. This is the Sinclair Spectrum+2. This model was released in 1986 and was actually made by Amstrad, and internally the electronics are the same as the Spectrum 128. Only this one comes with a new case with nice clicky keys and a built-in cassette recorder. And not loads of things at the back. Power supply, expansion I/O, which is an edge connector. Then there's a serial port, external keypad connection, RGB monitor outlet, RF tuner and sound. It's also got a pair of joystick ports on the side, and very usefully, a reset button. When I was a kid we had the 48K rubber keyed Spectrum and there was no reset button on that. We had to pull the cable out the back. Now these are powered from a 9V DC power supply, which has a sense negative connection, so we have to plug these in backwards. I'm going to connect to the RGB socket for our monitor, and the sound output there. And there's nothing. Oh, no power light, no display. It's not even drawing any current, not even a milliamp. This thing's dead, with a capital F. We'll pull all these cables out, because it needs to come apart. We'll flip it over, because the screws are underneath. Be careful not to tear these ribbon cables. These are for the keyboard. It won't work if I break them. We'll unplug the tape deck as well. And that reveals a fairly busy circuit board. We've got an RF modulator, quite a few Amstrad branded chips. And here we got the 3-channel sound chip that appeared in the 128K version the first time round. Now this chip here now sports a heatsink, which it didn't do in previous versions. It's known as the ULA, which is the uncommitted logic array, which doesn't really give you much clue as to what it does. It takes a lot of load off the CPU, and it's really the key to the performance of this computer, which was really pretty cheap in its time. Then we got the read-only memory, the ROM. This is the famous Zilog Z80 CPU, and this Amstrad chip here is actually a memory multiplexer, which is used to split the CPU's 64K address bus between 128K of RAM chips and various other peripherals. And down the side here is a computer's power supplies. And at the heart of this are this 7805 voltage regulator, which looks like it's being replaced to me. Looks a lot newer than everything else, which have got 1986 date codes on every single part. Yes, what does this one say? It's a bit hard to read, but I can't see any reference to 86, and that heatsink compound looks quite recent. So I'm not the first person to find out it's got some sort of power trouble. So we'll plug the power back in so we can measure. I'll pick up ground off this tab here, check the input, and we got 0.35 volts. And obviously nothing coming out. Yeah, let's check it at the socket. Still no good. Have we got it coming in? Yeah, there's our 9 volts. What's going on? I'll just unplug that and see what's going on underneath this board. So that can come out as well. We'll unplug that. Oh. What's going on? I hardly touched it. Let's whip this out. Let's have a look. Well, the DC jacks had a bit of attention off someone soldering iron, but they all appear connected. And there's a lot of solder flux around this joystick port. Oh, and solder. Very blobby. And I can see the odd bit of rework on these RAM chips. Not a lot, just the odd leg. Let's put the power lead back in. And we're still drawing no current. Look at that. If I measure the voltage on here, 9 volts. Thought must be at the top. But now I'm questioning this socket here. Something suspicious. Although this pin's soldered at the bottom, there appears to be nothing here. I think the board's been damaged. Well, that's easily checked. Pull that out. Let's resolder it. Let's put the regulator back on. Plug back in. Let's try that now. Oh, we got current. 0.8 of an amp. This is encouraging. Let's check these voltages again. From the tab to the input. There's our 9 volts. Nearly anyway. There's our 5. This is good. Let's poke around here, see what we've got. Minus 12 volts. Plus 12 volts. What's here? There's minus 5. Good. Now that's really encouraging. I'm dying to try it now. Let's see if it works. There's a monitor socket. And the audio. Oh, that's not how it's supposed to look. I thought I might have fixed this, but there's more to go at. On the positive side, we got a video display, so a lot of this is working, especially this chip, because that would be a nightmare if that's gone. A good place to start is with the CPU. Now this is an 8-bit computer, so there's 8 data bits around these pins here, and it's got a 16-bit address bus around here. We're going to probe them, see what's happening. And we're definitely going to need the oscilloscope. And put a scope probe on, and move the position down just a little bit. Expecting to be looking at 5-volt waveforms. And for convenience, I'm connecting the scope ground to the negative rail of the power supply. So if I refer to the service manual for this computer, find the schematics, we can see an 8-bit data bus runs all the way across here, and connected to it is stuff like the joystick port, the ROM chip, both banks of RAM, and into the ULA. And there's a 16-bit address bus, and this is connected to a lot of things as well. Directly to the ROM, to the keyboard of all things, and the memory multiplexer chip, whose output goes to the ULA and one of the banks of RAM, and a second bank of RAM is here connected directly. When it's switched on, the first thing the CPU does is look into address 0, which is actually wired to the ROM chip. So it actually looks in address 0 and has a look for an instruction, and then it just moves from there, just counting along. So when we probe the data bus, we should expect to see lots of activity on all 8-bit lines. And similarly on the address bus, but maybe not all of them, because the computer appears to be stuck, doing nothing. The data bus starts on pin 15, so we go 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. There's our first bit of data. Looks pretty busy. There we go. Next one. Okay. Still there. Okay. Then we got the 5-volt power supply. Fine. More data. Good. Also good. Yep, plenty going on. There we go. Okay. Then we get to the clock. Bit fuzzy, but it says 3.55 megahertz. That's absolutely bang on. Now get onto the address bus. This is address 15 and nothing happening. 14, still nothing happening. 13, no. 12. 11. No data there. No activity on the upper address bus. So over here we've got address line 10. Nothing on there. 9. 8. Ah! Now we have something. Okay. And nothing on address pin 7. 6. Alright. 5. 4. 3. 2, 1, and finally bus 0. There we go. A good idea to probe the output of the multiplexer, because this is where the RAM chips are connected, and the ULA. Because it is displaying random junk. Okay, pin 1, row address select. There we go, we've got data there. Pin 4, that's DMA 0. We got data, brilliant. Then pin 7, also good. Pin 10, more good data. This is looking quite good actually. 11, 12, 13, also good. Pin 16, beautiful. Pin 19, lovely. Then we find pin 37, that is address line 15, that's low. Then down to 33, so that's 6, 5, 4, 3. This is memory address 0, looking okay. Memory address 1. Memory address 2, memory address 3, memory address 4, memory address 5, memory address 6, all good. Memory address 7, oh, low. Pin 25, that's TS2, that's low. Pin 24, TS1, also low. Then we've got DMA 6, got data on there. Well, that's all the outputs checked. I'm pretty confident that the memory multiplexer is working just fine, and I think the CPU is, but you can never quite be sure. It's certainly cycling and doing stuff. But what is of interest as to which memory address lines are not being used, and it only seems to be accessing the first 383 lines of memory, which is all in ROM, none of the RAM at all. Now I do have a spare CPU, and it's got OK written on the bottom in my own handwriting, so I reckon it's going to be OK. Because it's socketed, it's going to be easy to change. But I will turn the power off before I do this. But I do have this natty little tool for pulling these out. Saves bending the pins. Just line the legs up on the back row. And let's press it in. Power on. So that's made no difference, that sort of eliminates the CPU. But it could be a bad ROM. Now, I've got a Diagnostic cartridge here which has its own ROM on there, so we can see if it boots off that. Just pull the power lead out first, get our cartridge, push it on, power back in. 4 lights is a good sign, all the power supplies are there. But that's not booting either, something quite wrong with this. I'm going to pull the ROM chip just in case it's that, or at least it's causing trouble. Put the power back in. Oh, we have a bit of a flashing code there. That's pretty much a red border. What does that mean? Although reading the manual for the Diagnostics cartridge tells me that the red and black border means the ROM has failed. You're not kidding, it's missing. Okay. And the elephant in the room, the ULA, I'm hoping it's not, because I don't have a replacement available. Just going to probe some of these logic chips. So here, this is a 7404. We've got a lot of high-speed data going on there. Same here. Yeah. This all looks pretty good. What's this one? That's just sat high. So this one should be low. Which it is. And that's ground, that's the power supply. And on this side we've got the power supply. That's 5 volts, that's okay. So here we've got... Oh, what's that? 2 volts? Low, okay. Also low, this should be high then. And it is. So this one low, so we should have a high there. Okay, one dodgy input or output. And right next to it is a quad multiplexer. This is a DM74LS157. Check this one out. So we've got data on that pin, looking good. Sat low, okay. Also sat low. Low again. What's that? Low-ish. Oh, another one about 2 volts. Okay, that's high. And that's probably ground, okay. So we've got the power supply rail, 5 volts, that's healthy. Then what we got? Low. Funny floating voltage. Another funny floating voltage. Then that's high. Low. 2 volts again. High. I'm just going to whip this chip out and change it. Just pull that out of the way so I can just flip the board over. Just flip it back over again. Let's pop the new chip in there. I say new, it's as old as the original one. One over here. Going to put the regulator back on, but it won't work. Let's see what that does for us. Well, it's different, but still not fixed. And now we've got a stripy screen which looks more like a memory fault, quite a serious one, but I think it's different every time I reboot it. I mean, check this out. You can see what I mean. Bit of a tricky one, this. Now, after a slow process of elimination, it's looking more likely that there's bad RAM in this computer. Now, you can put new RAM just on top of it, as long as the chips aren't shorted. So I'll put the thermal imaging camera on and see if there are any hot chips. Plug the power back in so it does warm up. Let's get the camera over this. See what we see. Well, that's the core of the CPU warming up. You'd expect that. All these other chips are all glowing away. Nothing over 29-30 degrees. You can see one bank of RAM chips there at the top. But underneath is another one there which are a little bit colder, but none of them stand out as being hot. So there doesn't appear to be any short circuits on the board, so we can try some RAM piggybacking. I just need some RAM. I've got a whole board of them here, some 84 of these chips. I just need to desolder them. This is the 256 kilobyte memory card out of a Plessy computer apparently. Now there's probably someone in the world really desperate for one of these, but I'm going to use it as a parts donor. Let's use the soldering tweezers on these. Get all the pins in one go. That'll do. If anyone's wondering, this is the Metcal soldering tweezers with the PTTC 706 cartridges in. Very handy. The idea is that you simply just push the chips on top of the old chips. The premise being that if they failed open circuit. There we go. It's got 256k now. Now of course you can't actually address 256k, but it gives the keyboard warriors something to comment about, doesn't it? I wouldn't say that's much different. No good. So they can come off. I don't think that's made any meaningful difference. So we changed the CPU, that didn't fix it, we've eliminated the ROM chip. I've also checked out the RAM, that seems all good, but this seems seriously not booting. Now I do remember scoping the address bus, and I did see some pins that are just stuck low. Now I assumed that they just weren't being addressed because it wasn't booting, but I'm going to check them out a bit more. I want to verify the data bus is working again, so that's pins 7 to 15, well we start at 15. There's first data. X1, good, good. That's the 5V power supply, that's normal. More data, 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 and data. So importantly, it's hitting 0 volts and pretty much 5 volts, so that's working fine. Pin 6 is a clock, 3.5 megahertz, that's fine. You can see there's some interrupts going on there, so that's encouraging. There's a lot working on this despite it not booting up. So now we've got pin 5, which is address line 15, and that's actually working okay. Pin 4, I'm not so happy about the high side of this, a bit low, but it is switching. Again, that seems okay. This is address bus 12. Pin 1, oh! Now I didn't see that before. That does not look very healthy. We'll check round here again. This is address line 10, that's okay. Address 9 is also good. Address 8, good. Address 7 is fine. Address 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then address line 0. Fine. Well, I completely missed that before. When I checked first time, there's quite a few pins just sat low, whereas that one's now stuck high. Something's changed. I don't know why. So I'm going to check the resistance from pin 1 to ground. 220 ohms. That don't sound good. If I compare that to the pin next door, 41k. Something amiss there. What about the 5 volt supply? Oh, we found the problem. That's definitely not right. Check the pin next door. Yes. Okay. So, although there's address buses all over the place, we can concentrate on this part here. It doesn't appear to be on the output of the address multiplexer. So A11 goes from the CPU to the keyboard, which isn't connected, so we can ignore that. It goes across to pin 15 of the multiplexer chip. And it also goes to the ROM, which we can ignore because we've already taken that chip out and replaced it with a Diagnostics cartridge. But A11 is also connected to pin 9 of this joystick interface chip. We'll check that out. Okay, from the 5 volt supply to pin 1 of the CPU, 14.7 ohms. Okay. So pin 15 of the multiplexer, so we've got 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. It's 14.77 ohms. That's actually getting higher resistance, getting further away from the short. And pin 9 of the joystick interface. Oh, 14.1 ohms. It's that. Probably. Now this is a 22 pin chip, so I need to change the tips on my soldering tweezers. Now these are pretty big. They're going to take quite a bit of power, these are. Take the stations up to it. So just pull these ones out. Bigger ones in. So has that got rid of our short? Yes, it has. But will it boot without the joystick interface? We'll find out. I can't catch a break with this. There's more faults. We're now entering the stage where we're going to play chip roulette. Which one could it be? Could it be this? Its main job is to generate the sound, but it's also got some I/O functions to do with the keypad and RS-232 sockets, so maybe not. I don't think it's any of the RAM chips, because when I piggyback the whole lot, nothing really changed. And I'm led to believe that most RAM faults are of the open circuit nature, so that should have fixed it. I didn't think it was the memory multiplexer chip either. Those black and white bands does make me think it might be a memory paging issue. I think it's time I bit the bullet and took this chip out. It's looking more and more likely, despite what I thought. It's going to be quite a long job removing those 40 pins, so I'm going to unplug these cables and connectors. I think the nozzle's a little bit blocked. It's not behaving very well. If I can get the cleaner in. Okay, out you come. Oh, I'm surprised it came out that easily. I should clean these holes up before I forget. I don't want to have to desolder that chip again if I don't have to, so I'm going to put a socket in. So quite cheap. Yeah, might as well put that in. Let's do the corners first. Just make sure it doesn't just fall away halfway through soldering it. I'd like to put a socket on here, but it's 22 pins, which is not that common, but it's a wider spacing. So I'll have to build a socket out of bits of sockets. There's half a 14 pin, and here's half an 8 pin. That'll be fun to solder. Just try and stick it down with this. See how that works. Hopefully it's all still straight. Looks okay. Might as well put the board back in now. It's not going to be soldering anything on it anymore, hopefully. Well, here they are. They've been sold to me as new old stock. I have no reason to disbelieve them. Oh, move that. Although I will just pop them in the leg straightener just to make sure. Just try and line the legs up on the back row first. Don't anything to bend. There we go. Let's plug some of this back in. Let's plug the ROM cartridge back in. So I haven't got a normal ROM in it yet. And of course the power. Oh, still not right, but it's behaving differently. and it's clearly executing some sort of program. And the board does flashing a lot. We've had red, we've had flashing red, and now we've got green. So it certainly appears the memory multiplexer did die on me, and now it's been replaced. It's back to behaving how it was. So it's not this. That's been replaced. I'm starting to have to accept that it could well be the ULA. I've managed to borrow one. So I've got to get this one out of here, because it's such a long chip with a heatsink on, it's difficult to get out. We'll just rock that a bit. It's not how I intended it to come out, but that'll do. We'll give it a try. That doesn't appear to have made any difference. But it proves my hunch it's not the ULA, which is good news because I've got to put this one back. But on with this long drawn out saga, I'm starting to consider it could actually be bad RAM. Maybe quite a lot of it, maybe all of it. So I was assuming it can't be all the RAM chips, so I was looking for the common denominators, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm getting desperate now. It's time to start changing RAM chips. Well, we'll start in the top corner, IC24. That's not coming out for some reason. Let's check they've not bent the pins over. Oh, but they have. Loads of them. Oh, that's annoying. I've got to straighten all those up. I really don't like this sort of behaviour. This is what gets pads lifted up. Oh. Might need a bit more solder on these to get this trick to work. There we go. We'll do the ones pointing the right way first. I consider this to be yet another violation of right to repair. Fancy injuring me like this. These chips have been a bit of a pig to get out. I was trying a bit of flux on there, so that seems to help. Just get it wiggling a bit. Get a little bit of leverage under the power supply pin. There we are. Well, I've now cleared all the RAM chips off the board, 16 of them with 16 legs. That's 256 soldered joints I've had to undo. And I've also got 16 chips off the donor board, so we should be good to put them in. Make sure I put them the right way round. And the last one's going to be a socket, for reasons I'll explain later on. I'm just going to solder a couple of pins on the top of these chips so when I flip the board over they don't fall out. Now I can put the last RAM chip in that socket. Just drop it back in the casing. It's a good place to put it. Plug the regulator back in. Won't work without that. Plug the monitor back in. And the diagnostic cartridge, of course. So will it work, or will I get another screen full of rubbish? So still no good. More trouble. Unbelievably, still not working, but from the sort of patterns we're seeing, sort of all new memory in, it must have something wrong with the address bus. So the 16 address lines, we'll start with address 0, A0 there, that's on pin 30 of the CPU. That goes to pin 10 of the EEPROM, which isn't connected, and also pin 2 of the multiplexer. So this is pin 30. And then we've got data. That looks okay. This is pin 10 of the EEPROM. Also good. And there's pin 2 of the multiplexer. Oh, we've got nothing. There's nothing on it. Oh, let's pull the power so I can do some measurements. So go from pin 30 to pin 10. We go 0 ohms. And from pin 10 to pin 2. Open. That's not right. So pin 2 goes to a via, and then from there, we're now up here, it snakes around here and goes to another via, and oh, it could be anywhere. So at this stage I'm just going to put a link wire in, just push it into the chip sockets. I'll just sneak that in the side there. Well, we'll try that now, see if we fixed it. Well, it's had an effect, it's different, but still not right. I think I need to sniff out more dodgy address lines. So pin 3 is address 7, that's working. So we skip one. Pin 5, that's address 1. This is address 8. This is address 2. And this is address 9. Oh, 9's bad. That's pin 39 on the CPU. And we got data there. Just not there. This is address 3. Address 10. Address 4. Address 11. Not showing much there, but to be fair, address 11 on the CPU is showing the same. Address 15, there's data there. Address 12, nothing there. There's also nothing there on the CPU, so it's probably okay. Switch the power off again. So address 9 also goes to pin 24 of the EEPROM. Be a bit easier to stick a wire in there. So pin 24 and into pin 9. We'll give that a whirl. Well, that looks more positive. Oh, RAM test. It's actually doing it. Do we have a working Spectrum? I think we do. So finally got it to boot on the diagnostic cartridge. I just need to do the repair on the boards. So we'll take the power out and we can remove these little bodgy link wires. We'll need that undone and pull these out. Let's flip this over. I'm just going to mark that. That's pin 2 there. And there's pin 30 of the CPU there. So I've got to join them together. I'm going to use this fine enamelled wire. It's used for wire wrapping normally. This is great for repairing PCB traces. You can burn the enamel off just by adding a bit of solder, although it's a bit hard to see. That should do it. So just offer that up against pin 2, warm it with the iron. That's on. Then just roughly bend it round to where we want it to go. Yeah, sort of there. Just sort of tin it there just to bear it off. That should do. You can just give it a little bit of a wiggle just to fatigue it and it will break off. Now I'm going to mark pin 9 and pin 39. and loosely route it like we did before. Around there, I think. Just going to put some tape over this just to hold it down. Stop it getting easily broken. Well, hopefully that's the end of all the drama on this board. Although I have got a few other chips to put back on, haven't I? That actually includes the ROM chip, because I haven't actually tested it properly yet. It's probably alright though. And of course the joystick controller chip. We forgot about that one. Here's a new one. We'll just pop a few screws back in here. I've got to quickly check the keyboard as well, so I might as well plug these in. Got these fiddly little ribbon cables, which are easily damaged. Stick some power on. It's going to do a keyboard test. That's a good start. All good. Let's try number 2, colour palette test. Yep, looks alright. I'm never sure where the any key is. Well, it's all looking pretty good. I'll try the 1 to 8K test. Memory. Good news. And of course this Spectrum has a 3-channel sound chip. Let's give that a test. If this doesn't take you back to the early days of 8-bit computing, I don't know what will. Well, that gives the computer a clean bill of health. That's good news. Just need to fix the other little bits. Oh, and test the tape deck. Well, that's that finished with. I do need to fix this big gaping hole as well. Well, that's the first copyright message I've been pleased to see. Now, I'm going to try loading a game. So just press eject, that's good. How to get in here? This way round. There we go, tape loader. Oh, that's no good. What's going on? Fast forward. Yeah. Let's see what's wrong with the tape deck then. Actually, whilst the cover's off, I might as well put this thing back in. It covers this gap up here. But to do it properly, I need to take the board out really. This has clearly had a gluing attempt done before which has failed, so I've had quite a lot of success with actually sort of melting it or welding it back together using a worn out soldering iron tip. Just sort of poke it in, stitch it along. Well, this is the underneath of the tape deck. You can see the motor there. This belt looks a little bit wobbly. Oh, it's not even on straight. Okay. I don't think that's causing the issue though. I'm going to have to take the tape deck out and see what's going on with the mechanism. Something wrong with the take-up reel, I think. Just need to open the door. I should be able to wiggle it out. There we go. It's held in by the LED. It won't take a minute. You can see from this side of the tape deck it's definitely had a drink spilled in it or something. What's that? Coke or something. It scratches off. And it doesn't appear to have corroded it. Not too much. But what's going on with the mechanism? Press play. I'll just turn that by hand. Oh, there we go. Got some buzzing. You look just through that little window, I can see something hopping. Well, it doesn't make the noise with no load on it. If I just load the take-up reel up, oh, there we go. You can see that gear jumping. You can see some wear on the teeth. I don't know, it seems to be just on the limit of running. You can see the teeth in this little gear are worn right on the edge, just where this is riding. So this is riding right on the top there. It's not ideal. But this has got some play in it. I wonder if the play was taken up from there and that was pushed down a bit, we might be good. I don't know if I can get this out. I'll take the belt off first. Oh, there's a little spring to unhook if I can get it. You can just see the play in there. I just want to shim that up somehow. See if I can pull this off. Oh, I can. There we are. Just found a little washer out the drawer. See how that goes on there. Just press this back on. Just engage that in there. Just screw the pivot back in. Try and get the spring on. Fiddly little thing. Hopefully the belt stays on the pulley. There we are. Now it's running on a healthier part of the gears. That's better. So it works. Let's add a bit of load. That's better. No cogs jumping. About fast forwarding, will it fast forward? Yes it will. And rewind. A little bit of buzz in there. Let's see how it works with a tape. I'll press play. Just run the capstan round. There we go. No rattling. Good. Let's fast forward. Fine. And rewind. Yeah. It's making me good to try it. But I will put a new dry belt on here because your one was a little bit on the slack side really. Other than the spilt drink residue, the rest looks really clean to be honest. I think it's going to be alright. The heads look really clean already, but just give me a little wipe over. Won't hurt. There's no residue coming off. That's a good sign. It's normally on this capstan you get the most mess. You thought I was going to forget to put this in, didn't you? Well, that'll show you. I don't know if there's a knack to getting this back in. Wiggling, I think. I should explain why I put a socket on this chip, and that's so I could put the old RAM chips back in one at a time and just see how many were faulty. And it turns out there are 6 faulty RAM chips. No wonder I struggled to diagnose this one. Blimey. Let's plug all this back in. And the keyboard connectors. Now just sort of scoot this in sideways. It has to find its way under the heatsink. There we go. Let's test this tape deck out now. Well, I'm calling that one fixed. I had 8 bad chips, 2 knackered traces on the PCB and some broken plastic in the tape deck. Quite a challenge. Oh well, catch you next time.